You are listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Here's Mike Riley, takes the drop, waits and throws, and he's going deep downfield to Darius Bowman. Oh my goodness, what a catch by Darius Bowman. You won't see many better than that. Franklin to Zylstra, touchdown Eskimos. Pressure's coming. Oh, Levi Mitchell goes down. There's a big play for the defense. Somersaults for everybody.
Welcome back to the Turf District for episode 111 of the Eskimo Empire Podcast. My name is Andrew. Thank you for downloading, subscribing, sharing, and of course, spending a little bit of time with us. You can find all of our links and social connections on the website, eskempire.ca. You'll find our Twitter and our blogs and our Instagram and Facebook and all those things right there. And we are one of the many Canadian Football Podcast Network shows. Make sure you check all of those out as well. We have a lot on the show this week with a recap of the Esks' fourth win in a row, some Esks news, a new history segment, the CFL scoreboard roundup, our pick'ems for this week, and a Grey Cup update from Jeannine, and we are also joined again by a returning guest. But first, our One Empire team here, Superfan Mike and Kayla. How are you guys?
Really good.
Doing great.
See, I decided to put you both together.
Wow.
Isn't that fun?
We're a family.
That's what it feels like. I know. Hey, we all got included in a cool little article with the Eskimos this past week for fan appreciation.
Yeah.
And where everyone found out that Kayla, your pants are optional. But that's
just on game day.
Just on game day. Lots of green and gold, but no pants. Wasn't that the line?
That's what she said.
All right, perfect. That was pretty cool, though.
Yeah, it was really cool. Which part? Sorry.
The article in general. Yes.
My exposure or?
Oh, my.
No, I meant the article in general was actually pretty cool that we got to be a part of that. So thanks to the Eskimos for that. Tailgate, Kayla, you swung over near the end there. And Mike, of course, another fantastic tailgate for us.
Yeah, well, it was great. Christine from Adarius for Autism came over. That was great to talk to her a bit. She had some of those Adarius for Autism shirts, which are fantastic.
I love that yours got signed to Superfan Mike.
Yeah,
that was
kind of fun.
Fantastic. Yes, that was very cool.
So that was great. And then, of course, we had our bread bowl chili again, another big hit.
Yes, yeah, we ran out this time.
Yep.
Yeah, we had just the right amount. It worked out pretty perfectly. And, it was just great to sit and talk with everybody that was there and enjoy some football and some food.
Oh, and I was Gru.
Je suis Gru.
You were Gru.
So that was fun. That was a fun little time. I let a lot of people doing the sideways eye at me, but that was okay. It was a good time. First time I ever got to try sluice juice too.
Oh, see, I remember your first time.
Oh, my goodness.
You might not, actually.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'll remember the next time I have it. Let's go with that. I actually do want to throw out right now a thanks to United Construction Company because they are the title sponsor for Spirit of Edmonton Breakfast. And as it turns out, they got me a pass to get into the breakfast this year. So I'll be having more of that sluice juice. So if you are at the breakfast, make sure that you check on me and make sure that I'm still
got a pulse
upright and make sure you say hello. All right, let's get right to our guest here. Kind of a throwback, actually, for all 3 seasons of the show. Welcome back to the Turf District. Doug, how you doing, man?
Good, Andrew. How are you?
Doing very, very well. Before we talk Esks, I do want to ask you a little bit, of course, the great big win by the Golden Bears on the weekend over the Dinos. Mike sent me the score, and I think we thought this at the same moment. I'm like, is that score reversed? Like, it doesn't seem right, but wow.
Yeah.
What a game.
Well, I've been saying for a while, I thought this team was getting close. I mean, they calling their games. We did the UBC game about a month or so ago, and they had a good start, and then what has been sort of usual, kind of fall apart in the second quarter and then try to bounce back. They almost beat Regina at home, lost in overtime, put up 55 points. Yeah. I mean, you could tell they were coming. They played Saskatchewan at home last week, won pretty easily, and then we were talking, I think, in the Periscope about math. Yeah. Suddenly math became a huge, big thing, and we had to see if the Bears could beat Calgary, which no one thought was really going to happen. Then it was going to be Manitoba needing to beat Saskatchewan, then they'd get in and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, the score just kept getting better and better, and next thing it was 30-3 at halftime, and they just never let up. I mean, Calgary did sit some guys, but hey, it's a good sign, and Saskatchewan ended up losing anyway, so the Bears kind of knocked the door down and are in the playoffs, and I get to finally call a Golden Bears playoff game. And we've been, Dustin Nielsen and I have been calling games together for a few years now. We've never called a playoff game, so we're doing it for Canada West.
That'd be
fantastic.
TV game on Saturday down in McMahon, so should be fun.
Awesome. So they're playing the Dinos again.
And the Dinos again. So the Bears finished 4th, Calgary finished 1st. The other semifinal is UBC and Regina in Vancouver. So actually, they played each other last weekend in Vancouver too. Really? So it's just a repeat of last week.
Oh wow!
Basically, okay. I don't think the Huskies and Bisons are going to bother to play. They could, I suppose, just pick somewhere and go play, but that's not going to happen.
Where did they play last week? We could just dream that.
Go back. Exactly, yeah. So anyway, I mean, look, let's be honest. The Dinos were the number 1 team in the country. They're unbeaten. The Bears are going to be in tough on Saturday, but I think they may have planted a little bit of doubt in the minds of the Dinos, and we'll see.
I mean, at this point, we're happy they're there. Right, like you said, you're finally calling a playoff game. It's that's really cool.
Well, and it's nice for they're 5th-year guys. Ed Ilnicki in Ottawa Red Blacks draft has been absolutely unbelievable. This week he didn't put up 200 yards. It's the first time in 4 weeks that he didn't put up over 200 yards.
Wow.
He's a Heck Crichton Award nominee. I think he's going to be in the hunt to win the Heck Crichton. Set a Canada West record for most yards in a season. Set all kinds of Golden Bears records, most yards ever, most carries ever. Tyler Henry had 4 touchdowns last week. He's another 5th-year guy. So I think these guys, they weren't quite ready to be done. So, and we'll see if they're ready to be done. They're probably not ready to be done this Saturday either. So
nice. What time is the game?
Game is 1 o'clock kickoff in Calgary on Saturday.
Perfect. And where are they? Did you say they're showing it on TV as well?
So you can watch on CanadaWest.tv, and then so there's a TV crew out of Saskatoon that's been doing Canada West games all season long.
Okay.
So it will be on TV, but I'm not sure. I was told TELUS TV, like on TELUS, you could pick it up on cable here. I haven't been able to verify that, but if I can find out, I'll tweet it around. But
that'd be great.
At CanadaWest.tv for sure, you can go and watch the game. No doubt about that.
Awesome. It's good to get behind another green and gold team. So that's
beating Calgary twice in one day.
That was
right.
A great day. Absolutely. Let's get to a bit of our Esks news before we get into the game. So Terry Jones put out an article the day after we recorded last week, where the Eskimos' injury bill now has crossed the $1 million mark, which is more than double for what they usually budget for in a season.
Right.
Really kind of made the whole injury situation. I mean, we always knew it was pretty bad, but when you see that number, I was kind of blown away.
Well, that's a quarter of your cap. Really.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you're looking at 20% of the money you're spending is players that didn't play for you.
Jeez.
That's insane.
They're going to need a GoFundMe page.
Yeah, exactly.
When does the telethon?
Yeah.
No, but it was just amazing that it made sense. I was talking about it with Travis Curra last week, and I thank him as well for having me on 2 and Out. And we were talking about this bill, and I said, well, when you start thinking about it, think of the guys that went down at the beginning of the season.
Sure.
Darius Bowman, John White,
J.C.
Sherritt, Corey Greenwood, all these guys that
Sean White
were not
for 12
cheap.
weeks.
Right? Like, these are not... These are the more expensive guys that were down. So it makes sense, and yet it was still like, wow, what a number.
Well, and so many guys that, look at the linebacking core. It was absolutely ridiculous. I think we were all waiting for the call for when we were going to have to go dress. Right? Yeah. It was. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and it continues. Brandon Thompson goes down on Saturday. Like, it's just
Hightower.
Yeah,
and Hightower too. That's right. I haven't heard an update on him, but
nope.
But yeah, I've never seen anything like it. It was just, and now Winnipeg's kind of facing a somewhat of a similar situation. Although it sounds like Harris is going to play this weekend, but
it's hard to say. At least we got it out of the way early.
True.
That was kind of nice. Difference. But we had 24 people on the 6 game.
Yeah, it was nuts
at the same time.
Yeah,
that's absolutely crazy. You've seen other coaches that'll hide players.
Sure.
But these are not people that are
not naming any names. Or
No.
Rhymes with schmones, but maybe Hamilton. But it's just one of those things where these are every week we were just waiting. Who's it going to be this week? And it wasn't just one guy. It'd be 3, 4, 5 guys going down. And I mean, I remember when we played Winnipeg and they had 2 weeks in a row, there were no changes to their depth chart.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
No.
We haven't had that once this year.
Oh,
There's always been at least 3 changes at minimum, right? Even at our highest point. So, yeah, that's just a crazy article. And man, oh man, I tell you, for the fact that we are where we are in the midst of that, I think we're testing what Jason Moss said at the beginning of the season. This is the deepest team he's ever seen.
Yeah,
we're really, really testing that. Exactly.
We're running out of numbers.
Yeah,
for players.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody's going to get that 0, even if Dwayne says no.
Number pi.
That's exactly. Well, let's talk about the depth chart as it came out. We had more adventures this week. Out to the 1-game list was Kenny Ladler. So that makes it now that every player on the defense has had at least 1 game off in injury from the beginning of the season. Alex Hoffman-Ellis, Ladarius Perkins, Pascal Lochar, and Dupuis all went to the 1 game, and then Morgan went back to the PR. In comes CJ Gable, which did make a bit of a difference, I believe.
Sure did.
Chris Edwards comes back in. Neil King returns. Tuck came back in and I thought had a great game on special teams. We had signed earlier in the week and then joined us Mr. Kankalongo and then Jamil Smith. And I mean, let's transfer right to the game right there.
Yeah.
The Eskimos put up a great battle, end up winning against the Calgary Stampeders 29-20, sends Calgary on a 2-game losing streak, I guess, for the first time in
years.
Absolutely.
5 years?
And it gives us a shot still at second place.
Second, third, or fourth.
That's just crazy. But the reason I wanted to transition right there is because all season I've been super, super hard on the special teams.
Yeah.
And we finally had a nice return. That return by Jamil Smith was nice.
And you could just see when we were not starting at the shadows of our goalpost every drive.
Yeah, part of that was our defense was pushing them back and we were winning that field position.
We were getting some decent returns too.
Yeah. I actually thought that based on what the year has looked like, I thought it was an improvement.
I think anything's an improvement. To be honest, I mean, not to be facetious, but it's been. I've never seen a team struggle so badly in the kick return game as this team has. I mean, we had Brandon Zylstra back there who didn't really. I mean, he's not a good returner.
No. Not a great speed.
And then he was having a tough time hanging on to the ball. So there's a problem. I mean, Smith, the return that you're talking about was good because he just put his head down and went ahead. Because he just does not have the speed to get to the corner, which is what he was trying to do this game and the previous times we've seen him in the lineup. Right. So if he just puts his head down and goes, he's quick enough. I think he can beat that initial push downfield. But if he tries to beat guys to the sideline, I think that's going to be a bit of a trick. So it's an improvement. There's no doubt.
Yeah, we'll take the improvement. I thought Hugh actually had a great game punting as well.
Yep.
I think he's been good. I mean, we were talking about, but even, you know what, and not to go back in time, but we were talking about Chris Milo a little bit before we started. O'Neill up to that point was 6 for 8. He hadn't been awful. He'd actually been kicking better than I'd seen him kick in quite a while. Mm-hmm. You bring Milo in, to me that sends a message to O'Neill saying, hey, we really don't believe in you.
Yeah.
And then it just spiraled downhill because Milo couldn't kick either, so then it was a big mess. But no, I agree. I think he's punted well, and not that I'm advocating for him to become our plates kicker right now, but I'm saying I think that was a bit of a coaching error, if I may say so, back when they just leave him alone, let him go, and then if you need to bring in Waters or everyone thought White was going to be back sooner than later. Anyway, so
that was unfortunate. He wasn't able to get back sooner. So, okay, I've eaten crow about the special teams. Now let's talk about the other parts of the game. Kayla, what stood out in the game to you?
Oh my gosh. Everything, if that makes sense. Like, absolutely everything. Especially the receiving core, there was, 2 drops total?
I counted 4.
4? Wow, I'm off.
One that was egregious that we will talk about in a short while. That, oh my goodness, I think both my son and I yelled push-ups as loud as we possibly could. I wish I'd have seen him doing them on the sidelines. That was horrible.
Was that Hazelton?
No, that was Corey Watson. Right in the numbers.
Oh, yes.
That
I forgot about that because it hurt so bad.
Yeah. So, 4. It's limited. It's not as bad as it could have been.
Well, compared to what it has been,
sure,
absolutely. What else can you say other than an improvement in general? And like I was saying in the Periscope, it's a team. Like, it just feels like they are fighting under one banner. They're fighting for a common goal. They're actually playing together. The tackling has improved. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement in the secondary, which is my concern going into the game in Regina, because you have the likes of Carter, right? So you're going to need to protect the zone more efficiently, because that is one thing that I was screaming is like they're playing a lot of zone, and with Calgary, you kind of need to play man-to-man because you're leaving a lot of open spaces.
Did you guys see more man-to-man in that? I thought I saw more man-to-man in the Calgary game in comparison to what we have seen.
Maybe.
Agreed. Against Bo, you definitely want to play a little more man, because if you have a soft zone, he'll eat you alive.
Well, I think, too, we now have guys, well, until somebody got injured, but we now have guys that have played weeks together, so the communication is better.
Yeah,
you could totally see that with Grimes and Adams. Even
well, that's
just that communication is.
They're a whole different story in a whole different league, especially with Grimes. He's on a whole different level, right?
Absolutely.
So you can't really he plays his game. There's no doubt about it. But there are weak spots, and they stick out, right? And there is like a weak side.
That's why they closed practice on Wednesday, because they don't want us already to be bitching about Marcel Young being out there, which is a possibility.
That's as soon as I screamed. I was like, Andrew Marcel Young!
Another name we could talk about, though, is Gary Peters. That's a guy that could be coming back.
He could be coming, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be
as opposed to Johnny Adam.
Johnny Adam? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where does Esks go? Did he get ripped off?
I don't know. Maybe he lost a bet to Dwayne. I don't know.
Maybe he was only playing half of himself. It was just Adam, and not Adams.
I don't like the sounds of that.
As it is, he got picked on all night.
Well, that Mitchell knew where to go, and it was at number 20 over and over and over again.
Yeah.
He can't cover.
Yeah.
He can't cover, period. Game one, I was at the game in Vancouver. He couldn't cover Nick Moore to save his life. And it's continued all season long.
And that's just it, is if we could have kept Hightower and could have kept, Peters could have replaced Adams.
Right.
But now, probably not, because, with Thompson going down and maybe Hightower, we don't know, so.
Yeah, so it looks like Edwards is going to be in for playing corner for the rest of this year, I would have to think.
That could be 23.
You shut your mouth.
Well, it's a toss-up.
It is.
Between Adams and Marcel Young, I'm not sure it's sort of the...
I guess, that's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another.
But
one can tackle, though. Adams can't tackle.
Well,
he's good at tackling.
Well, yeah. Well, the
guy catches the ball.
Well, yeah, it's lots of practice, and he's chasing behind guys. So, yeah.
That's where we need to put the QB pressure on, then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If there's something weak, then you have to kind of push another line, and that D line was fantastic on Saturday. So if they can do that to Brandon Bridge, I assume he's going to be in at least within the second quarter or after half, probably. But that'll be advantageous because he's a rookie, and you want Mondo coming after you?
No.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
Actually, I would be like,
you would.
Hugging.
See Brandon Bridge having that attitude.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, exactly. Doug, what else stood out in this game for you?
Well, I think what Kayla just mentioned, I have not been the biggest Mike Benavides fan. I don't love his scheme, but I agree that he has been sending more pressure lately, which is crucial. I think it has to. You cannot rely on 4-man to get pressure consistently. And it exposes what we've already talked about to be, I think, overall, a relatively weak secondary, though it has improved. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think sending a little bit more pressure is the one way you can at least protect your secondary, especially if we're dealing with more injuries.
Exactly.
So I hope that continues because I have been happy with that the last 3-4 weeks. Yeah. Not so much that the pressure's resulting in sacks because we're getting the odd one, but it isn't really. And Mitchell's a guy who he's used to that, so
he gets the ball out
he gets
so
the ball
fast.
so quickly. It's tough. But against a guy like Kevin Glenn, I think you can expose him
a
little bit. And as you said, Caleb, Brandon Bridge potentially too. So. That's the one adjustment that I've been happy with, and I think is long overdue.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree. Actually, that D line, I wrote it all out here. So Kwaku had 3 quarterback pressures.
Yep.
Mondo had a tackle for a loss and a quarterback pressure. The Mayor had a tackle for a loss and a quarterback pressure. Hunt had a quarterback sack. Euclid had a quarterback sack.
Yep.
They were in the backfield a lot.
Yeah.
Euclid actually
Against
had a monster
Calgary,
game.
that's
He
very
was,
rare.
he was fantastic. I actually caught one of his sacks
on
a photo. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
And three holding penalties? Did I
Yeah.
count that right? That's a miracle. I mean, when was the last time you saw three holding penalties on one offensive line in one game?
Especially to Calgary.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it wasn't us. That's
No,
Yeah.
no, we're just jumping offside. That's our specialty. We just cover that category.
Only when the eye in the sky corrects it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they got
Well, that's
fire in their
another-
boots. They got to keep going. That was one thing at the penalties I actually found quite, what's the right word? Justifying is a bunch of Calgary fans on Twitter were like, that was penalties. Oh my gosh. They totally were on Edmonton's side this time. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because now you understand what it feels like and you only had one game. That was us constantly throughout the season. So I don't even feel bad at all. Nope. Sorry.
enough. All right. Yeah, we only had 7 this game. Not bad,
It's an
actually.
improvement.
That's
It was good,
fine.
actually.
50
The
yards.
discipline was,
That is
the
good.
discipline was very good.
Yeah.
I was
In
very
comparison.
impressed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
We haven't talked about Mike Riley much yet. What a complete game from him, I thought.
Absolutely.
He definitely still holds on to the ball a little too long. But
Couple of
in
times.
that second half, he just, again, like he's done so many times this season, puts the team on his back and he will us to a first down or a touchdown or whatever. So that was great to see. CJ Gable, great to have him back in this game. His blocking was outstanding, as it always is. And he had, what?
Almost a 5-yard average.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 82 yards.
Yeah, so there you go. Defense, the problem I have with Benavides' schemes is we have some really solid playmakers on the defense, but they don't seem to be making a big difference making plays.
Yeah.
good point.
You don't see
Yeah.
a lot of turnovers, right? You
Right.
don't see
Yeah.
anyone stripping the ball. I mean, it occasionally happens. You don't see a lot of interceptions.
No.
And those are the things that really can break the back of the other team, and I'd love to see more of that. But
I find it's very basic too. You know, I don't find there's a lot of innovation in his,
no, there's certainly not a lot of
Right.
stunts on the
No.
defensive
Four-man
line.
which is
pressure and-
I understand, but when it comes to these kind of games, you kind of got to mix it up and throw
It's like
things
the
at
anti-Jones, right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have guys blitzing from all over the field, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if a little bit, and now, not that we saw a lot of it last year either, but I wonder if the injuries played into that a little bit too.
Absolutely.
Did they have to go
Probably, yeah.
more vanilla early on because of, I mean, you're down to linebacker
playing?
number 9,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Exactly.
tricky to...
Exactly. Benny's like, well, what the hell's that
Yeah,
guy's
who's
name
this guy
again?
again? Yeah. Doug McLean, what's he playing linebacker? What's he playing here?
I'm ready, guys.
Brock, what's your problem?
What's your How did you sign that guy?
150-pound linebacker.
Now, I agree with you that they aren't making those games, but some of the hitting in this game, though, like
Sure.
Aaron Grimes, when like 2 or 3 times got me up out of my seat
Yeah.
just by making a huge tackle, a huge
Absolutely.
play.
It's just
That's just talent. That's
And
just
Arjun
talent.
Colhoun as well.
it's more like
Massive
the,
game.
I mean, Paul Reckner said it to me, and we were texting back and forth. It's like the defense is slowing them down more than imposing their will.
That's a good way. That's
And
a good way
it's,
to say it.
it's you know, I mean, it's the bend don't break thing. But we've got guys like Grimes is a great example. Arjun Colhoun, these are great playmakers.
Yes.
And they're just not getting the ball in their hands because of the way the scheme is. Perhaps I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, the problem with the bend, and I agree, the bend don't break thing, which I've never loved, but
No.
I mean, but the problem now is that bend don't break. You get inside the red zone. We don't have cover guys, and we saw it
Yeah.
the other day. We do not have cover guys to lock down inside the 20. So
Right.
Mitchell just
Yeah.
sits back there and he's got 2, maybe 3 options to
Yep.
throw to. Like it's not
Right.
to your point, Mike. Like, there's no real threat, especially
No.
once you get to the red zone.
Right. That's what's so dangerous. Right?
Well, now I think that's kind of what surprised everyone with the Eskimos this year too. Is like our depth chart is ridiculous, and
Yes.
yet, right? So the talent is there. It's not being utilized to the potential that it can. But like you were saying, it's changing, especially
Slowly.
last game. Well, it kind of needs to change fully.
Well, we need to have we need
At this
we need
point.
to have that consistency is helping too. Now that we're getting some of that on I say that right, so we don't know what's happening
And
this week.
In Regina, when we win, I think that's going to be like the Grey Cup or not Grey Cup kind of thing, in my opinion.
Well, I think
Because that's
Maybe.
a tough. If you win in Mosaic, you win anywhere.
it's going to have a playoff atmosphere.
Yeah. It
No
is
doubt about it.
definitely.
Yeah, it's an extra playoff game.
I mean, it certainly feels that way for the crowd, but I'm just wondering if Jones, let's say Winnipeg loses, which is before our game.
Oh.
At
Right.
that point, Jones has a choice. He can either be 4th and go east, or he can be 3rd and play west. So, I mean, who knows? At this point, he might be like, I don't really care either way. Just make sure nobody gets hurt. Who
Yeah.
knows?
You think?
But
Well,
Doug,
he can't get second, right? So
No, but like,
but Doug, if you had a choice right now, would you go East or West? It's the question everyone's asking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go through Winnipeg in the West and then Calgary, yeah, I mean, with Winnipeg being banged up, depending on how badly hurt Nichols is, that's a factor.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I just, as much as I'd like to give a better answer, I just don't think teams think that way.
yeah.
I think it's so hard to try to coach that. I think you do.
I don't think he's trying to try.
No. And I know
Yeah,
that's not what you're saying,
Yeah,
but I think
just
that's.
that he might be like, well, I don't really care
That's right.
which way we go, so now we can maybe play a little more vanilla, so we can the next week.
No, that's a
we
good
can,
point. Yeah.
no injuries.
You know, we don't have to worry about tipping our hand too much.
Yeah, I guess that's entirely
So
possible.
who knows? It's Jones. I never really know what he thinks.
Right? That's what's
Does
so tough.
anyone? That's it. Yeah,
I mean, a
exactly.
few more of these and I'll figure it out.
I know what you're thinking.
That's right. I think that basically wraps up our game for this week. It's always good when we beat Calgary, especially when it's this close to the playoffs. So many good stories as the season gets closer to the end. And let's get even more stories, shall we? As it's time for this week's Eskimo History segment.
Let's hear you cheer and holler for a mighty famous team. Let's hear you roar, you know what, for a team that's on repeat. Our voices rise up to the skies, the fans are glad to scream. We love those Eskimos.
Welcome to another edition of This Week in Eskimos History. Today we'll be looking at Eskimos milestones in the week of October 31st through November 6th. Looking at some Eskimo-related birthdays in the coming week, November 4th, we have a double celebration of 1960s defensive linemen, with all-star defensive end E.A. Sims, played with the team 1962-68, turning 80, and all-star defensive tackle John Legrone, started in 1967, playing through 74, will be 73 years old. On November 5th, legendary cornerback, and hopefully one day Eskimo Wall of Honor inductee, Joe Holloman, 1976-1985, celebrates his 65th birthday. And on November 6th, friend of the podcast, Scott Kloman, is 42. Current Eskimos with birthdays this week. November 2nd, fullback and senior statesman of the team, Calvin McCarty, who joined way back in 2007, turns 33. Eskimos with an anniversary of passing this week. Way back on November 1st, 1939, William Fremont White, known to everyone around here as Deacon White, passed away at the age of 60 years old. It is nearly impossible to talk about the Edmonton Eskimos of the first half of the 20th century without talking about what Deacon White meant to the people of Edmonton in all manner of sports in the city. The son of a preacher, White came to Edmonton on August 6, 1906, with a youth team that he formed from Anacortes, Washington. Within a week, he had returned, forming the new Western Canadian Baseball League and becoming the new second baseman and team manager for the Edmonton Capitals, beginning a 24-year sporting career here. While baseball was his introduction to Edmonton, White also coached the Edmonton Eskimos hockey team for the 1910-11 season, and finally became the head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos Rugby Football Club, the third coach in the club's history since switching to Canadian rules in August 1911. White took the club to the first ever East-West Grey Cup game in 1921, the year the team set the points record by beating the Calgary Tigers 72-2, and repeated the Grey Cup trip the following year in 1922. White retired after the 1924 season, but was coaxed out of retirement for the 1930 year, his final in Canadian football. White coached Edmonton football clubs for a club record 10 years in total, only recording 2 losing seasons, and has become synonymous to the early days of Canadian football in Edmonton. And after the season we've been having, we thought we would look back at a few streaks in the history of the Empire. November 2nd, 1963. Edmonton sets a team record, losing their 9th consecutive game to finish the season, their first since the trade of star quarterback Jackie Parker to the Toronto Argonauts in January of that year. Jackrabbit Joe Hernandez, Aubrey Lynn, and Tommy Joe Coffey all scored touchdowns for the Eskimos, but couldn't match the firepower of the Stampeders as the team fell to 2-14, the most losses in a season in the history of the Green and Gold. This also proved to be the final game for head coach Eagle Keys, who had been with the team as a player, assistant coach, and head coach since the 1952 season. Moving up to October 31st, 1971. First-year wide receiver Volley Murphy has a 97-yard catch-and-run touchdown as Edmonton wins its 5th consecutive game to finish the 1971 season. The year saw the team start 1-10 with an 8-game losing streak before new quarterback Bruce Lemmerman joined the club and breathed new life into the squad. The team came into the game at Clark Stadium facing Ron Lancaster and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who needed to win this game to clinch first place in the West. But the Eskimos led 14-0 early and cruised to a 28-12 win to close out the season. This was the beginning of the team turning things around, and by the 1972 season had turned a last-place team into hosting the West semifinal before finally taking the club to the Grey Cup in 1973. November 5th, 1989. Edmonton records its 7th straight victory to finish the season with 16 wins and 2 losses, the most wins ever by a team in Canadian football in a single season. Tracy Ham rushed for 92 yards to become the first CFL quarterback to run for over 1,000 yards in a season, a benchmark that spells a fantastic year for a running back, let alone a quarterback. Ham and backup Rick Warman combined to throw 6 touchdown passes in the 49-17 dismantling of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, with majors scored by Blake Marshall, Walter Murphy, who each had 2 touchdowns, Craig Ellis, Keith Wright, and friend of the podcast Tom Richards, who recorded 114 yards in the game on 2 catches. And lastly, November 1st, 2015. Edmonton beats Montreal 40-22 to win their 8th consecutive game and win the West by virtue of winning the season series versus the Calgary Stampeders, who finished with the same 14-4 record as the Eskimos. Quarterback Mike Riley had been knocked out of the first game of the season with a knee injury in the first regular season game played in Fort McMurray. While the Eskimos went on to win the next 4 games with backup Matt Nichols, rookie quarterback James Franklin had his coming-out party in a 38-15 win over the same Toronto Argonauts that had knocked Riley out of the game 2 months earlier. Franklin struggled in his start during the Labor Day Classic versus Calgary, but the next weekend, Riley started his first game since his injury and began the improbable winning streak that saw the Eskimos beat Calgary twice, the first time Edmonton had beaten their southern rivals in 4 years, and began the run that took Edmonton to the club's 14th Grey Cup in Winnipeg in November of that year. Thank you again for listening to another episode of This Week in Eskimos History. Until next week, fight on, Eskimos.
Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. We love those Eskimos.
All right, that was Mossum as always, superfan. And hey, it's talking about streaking.
That's right.
We're good streaking!
I tell you, it was kind of nice, though, that you talked about the 89 season and then just stopped, because that's where the season did end.
Right.
And the rest of that year was deleted.
Yeah, that's right. Didn't
that's
happen after the regular season.
That's what my therapist says. All right, let's do a quick Empire Points update. The top 10 saw some big movement this week. We've got Lord Touchdown, then Joe Balaneski, Coach Vic, Chris Curtis, Leanne, Bill K, Joel, Joe P, Shelley, and Janelle, all up into the top 10.
I like to see a little bit of changing going on in there.
Absolutely.
Of course, you can earn Empire Points by sharing or leaving iTunes reviews or just making us laugh. Remember, the top 10 get entered in a draw for the choice of either a game-worn Shamad Chambers rookie jersey or a signed Darius Bowman jersey.
And another way to earn points is to leave comments on the blog post on the website. Give us your thoughts or questions, and we'll hand you out some points.
Wonderful. Let's take a quick break. We will come back with our scoreboard roundup, this week's Pick'em, and a Grey Cup update from Jeannine.
This is Quick Boating, and this is the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
You can join the Empire online. Find us at sempire.ca. All of our social channels are there. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, plus our blogs, extra pics, and the link to our Patreon page. You can also get more history at S History on Twitter and This Day in S History on Facebook. From the Empire team, thanks again for listening. Now let's get back to the show.
Welcome back from not going anywhere. The Grey Cup is less than a month away, and the game is officially sold out. I caught up with our favorite Red Blacks fan, Jeannine, for an update on the party coming to the capital. Welcome back to the Turf District, Jeannine. It is the one and only Jeannine. How are you?
I'm great, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining us once again to talk about all the exciting parts of things that are coming in less than a month's time. What's kind of going on in the city right now? Is the buzz up for the Grey Cup to be almost here?
Oh, absolutely. The countdown is on, and the city is getting more and more excited to get things going for the 105th Grey Cup Festival during Canada's 150th birthday. I have to say, Ottawa is getting pretty pumped to welcome all of you guys, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
I know I'm starting to get more messages from people across the league like, hey, when are we going to meet up and when are we going to see you? And it's always an exciting time of year, both on and off the field. And of course, we're very excited to come in and spend some time with you guys. Before we get to the Grey Cup itself, let's talk a little bit about your team because they've really started to get on a good roll at the right time. And of course, that very exciting game on Friday night that turned out for you guys with the possibility of being able to host the East Final.
Yeah, what a game on Friday night. And the Red Blacks kind of did it again this year, right? They haven't always had a stellar season, but they found a way in these last few games to dig really, really deep and get the job done. And they've ended up with the same record as they had last year. You know, everybody knows it's not a great record, but the record doesn't matter. What matters is at the time when they need to really figure out who they are as a team and as a family and work together and stay hungry, they've done so. And they have won. Their last 3 games have been come from behind victories that have come down to the wire and have really kept us all maybe a little too high blood pressure for some of us. But and I know you're like that too, Andrew, so you know what that's like. But it's certainly kept us all very excited in our nation. And this team is really, it's really finding a way to make things happen when they absolutely need to, despite some bad injuries to some of their star players. So we're really, really pumped here that there's a good chance that we see them play in the Grey Cup game here at home. So that's a lot of fun for us.
That would be so awesome. I mean, and the other part of it for me that's kind of cool is as you were talking there, I couldn't actually tell if you were talking about the Red Blacks or the Eskimos. So it's, we're kind of following the same path. But I can only imagine the excitement that would bring if the team was in the big game. So now, of course, if we cross over, well, I'm sorry, but that's fine.
Don't make me bring up snow angels. Don't make me bring up snow angels.
Fair enough. Now, how are you doing personally, of course, with Brad Sinopoli going down? I know that's got to be a tough one for you.
It is. I know everybody knows that he's kind of he's my number one Red Black, and I was pretty devastated when I heard that he would be out for the season, and I'm sure my devastation is nothing compared to his own play. He's a hometown boy, right? I mean, he's from Peterborough, which is just a few hours away from here, and went to university here in Ottawa. I'm sure that there's nothing he would have wanted more than to have the opportunity to play the Grey Cup in his hometown, in what is essentially his hometown, but the thing about this team is whether you're injured or not, you're all a part of it. You're all an intricate part of this family. And I know that he's there in spirit with all of his fellow brothers out there. And I know that he's contributing in his own way. So sad to see him out there. But I will say this, what I do really appreciate is seeing others who are stepping up. And we saw it in the game. We saw it in the game last week with Deontay Spencer, of course, who broke a record, almost 500 all-purpose yards. I think the final number was 496, like really stepping up. You saw Jerron Kreiner and Josh Stangby, who got a chance to really show what they're made of as well. It's great that we have that kind of depth to step up and replace a guy like Brad. So through adversity, sometimes you find some nice little surprises. So what a great game for those guys, and hopefully they can keep it up down the playoff stretch.
Awesome. Well, great. Let's get to the big game because I know how exciting that is. And, of course, all of the festivities surrounding the big game. I was just looking over because I got the program here with my tickets, which they're beautiful tickets this year.
Aren't they gorgeous?
Oh, I was so impressed. And, and, of course, it comes with the program. So I was going through it and flipping through it. And some of these things I actually didn't really even know about. But just from your perspective, actually, I'd like to hear what you want to, I guess, tell us about the Gridiron Gals event, because I hadn't even heard about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if the Eskimos do something. I think the Eskimos do something similar to what the Red Blacks do and a few other teams do. We call it Ladies' Night here, and it's usually before the season starts, and players and coaches, the team sells tickets. I think there's about 100 tickets up for grabs, and it's for women who want to come in and do a bit of a deeper dive into the game of football And they do that by talking to players and coaches. The coaches, you're kind of split up into 3 groups. So you spend some time with the offensive coaches, with the defensive coaches, and then out on the field with the players. And you just really take a deeper dive into the strategy behind the game and have some fun while you're doing it. Because with the players, they kind of put you through these drills out on the field, and you learn,
Nice.
how to protect the football when you're a running back, and how to punt return and all that great stuff. So because it's been such a successful event for the Red Blacks, the organizing committee for the Grey Cup has decided, let's do this at Grey Cup with players and coaches that are going to be able to participate in this at Grey Cup. And so it's going to be the Saturday before the game, and it's going to be just an absolutely fantastic way for women from across the country. And I should say, men are also invited. I mean, it's not an exclusive event for women. So if you want to buy a ticket, Andrew, or Mike wants to buy a ticket, you can. And it's just a way to have some fun and just take a deeper dive into football and the strategy behind it. And I remember when I went the first time, your head coach was our offensive coordinator, and
Yes.
it was great. He kind of opened up his playbook and showed us some of the basis for some of the routes that he calls and some of the plays that we see out there, and some of this, the signals that you see Henry Burris making. And it was just a really nice way to just learn a little bit more about the sport that we all love. And it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, that's just a great opportunity for everybody. So Gridiron Gals is going to be a really great event, and it's one that I think I'm doubly excited for, because it really shows how this Grey Cup Festival organizing committee, we've really put a premium on being as inclusive as possible and finding events that bring in segments of the population that maybe haven't always participated as much as others. So, in this case, it's an event that is targeted to women. Yes, men can come as well, but it is targeted to women, and it's just a way of bringing in other segments, other demographics. There's also going to be a Capital Pride party for the LGBTQ community. Again, inclusive Grey Cup Festival, finding things to draw in people that might not have always thought about going to, the team parties, but wanted to see what the Grey Cup Festival is about. So I just think it's great that there's all this inclusivity in this Grey Cup Festival. We're really proud of that.
That is fantastic. And I know that, so the Pride Party is on Thursday night, and the Gridiron Gals is on Saturday. And I'm glad you told us that that's basically open to everyone, because I know when I first read that and it said in brackets afterwards, women's event, I figured, we couldn't go. But it's that's awesome that is a possibility to open that up. So absolutely. Now, the other part, and this is exciting for me because I know 2 years ago when I was at the Grey Cup in Winnipeg and we're in the Spirit of Edmonton room, of course, they're playing all of these great cover songs, and the constant joke between Travis Curra and Brazilian Ty and I was to name a totally different Canadian band and say this is who's playing it, even though it was like a Metallica song or something like that. And then, of course, you guys announced the concert series, and the main night is April Wine and Trooper, and I'm like, right? This party is made for us to go to. So tell us a bit more about the whole concert series, because it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, the concert series is another example of how the Grey Cup Organizing Committee is really trying to be as inclusive as possible and including a whole bunch of different musical tastes. So the first night is the Thursday night. You're from Western Canada. There's some country music fans out there, I'm sure.
Oh, those are the Calgary people. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Podcaster Ryan. Maybe I need to have this conversation with Podcaster Ryan. But night one is going to be, and the Saskatchewan and the Piffles guys, because night one is actually Saskatchewan-born Jess Muskaluk, who's the headliner. And she's kicking off a country night. And she's, I'm not a huge fan of country music, but I know that she's been very successful in her career with CCMA awards and with a Juno award. So she's a pretty big draw, and they're going to have a lot of fun on country music night. Night number 2 is going to kind of parachute me back to my university days, I think, because it's Sloan, who I saw in the campus bar in the 90s. So I am totally stoked for Sloan. And then I don't know if you've ever heard of this very popular cover band from Toronto called Dwayne Gretzky. And they play, they're fantastic. You have to catch them. They play everything from Bruce Springsteen to David Bowie, and they're just like a really great kind of party cover band. So they're going to be an awful lot of fun. And then night number 3 is Trooper and April Wine. And like speaking to our demographic, Andrew, right? Like this is the music we grew up on.
Exactly. Well, we are here for a good time. Come on.
That's right. Not for a long time. It's just going to be, it's too, as soon as we found out that we had Trooper and April Wine, I did cartwheels. Like, it's just going to be such a great, so, you know, the country music night might appeal a little more to some of the younger crowd, but Trooper and April Wine, you know, those diehards like Uncle Tim, for example, who's been going to every Grey Cup, right? Like this concert series is for everyone, and it's all Canadian, which is just how better to showcase Canada's 150 than with an all Canadian concert series. So if you don't have your tickets yet, check them out before they get eaten up, because there's going to be some great music at this festival.
Oh, that is fantastic. And of course, there's so many other little events going on as well that I'm excited about. I always go through the Family Fun Zone. I think it's a blast.
Yes,
and the Street Festival sounds like it's going to be good this year. So many good things to touch on and get to. Now, the most important question for me, will there be a Bleed Red Blacks reunion where we can meet all of you?
Oh, well, I got to do the best I can to make that happen, don't I?
Absolutely. Yes, we need you as part of a group. I've always missed getting my picture with the gang. So if that can happen, sign me up for the ticketed event. I'll pick that up and make sure I'm there.
Ticketed event. I love it. I'll sell tickets. I even think that Mr. Santino might be coming in for this one. So, you know, I think there's a possibility. The possibilities are endless. So,
but
I'll
have my recorder.
There you go. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing all of you guys, the podcasters, and we've been doing some work with OSEG to make sure that podcasters have access to the media area and Radio Row. So you guys will have a spot for you and the ability to do some recording right from the festival grounds. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to that because you guys do so much to bring news about the CFL to fans, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for all of you guys.
Well, and thank you for all of your hard work on that. I think that's going to be amazing. I'm excited I'm excited to be there and then get to take a part in some of these things and you know, not only be there as a fan, but be there as a podcaster and you know, keep spreading the good word, as we say
you bet.
Times. But
so when do you arrive, Andrew? When do you get in?
I actually get in on the Wednesday, and then I'm there until the Tuesday morning. So
okay.
I've got a fair chunk of time in there. Both I need to have, there's some family I need to visit while I'm there because I want to do that, and then to experience all of the wonderful Grey Cup things. So it's going to be a packed few days, but I'm so excited to just wear green and gold and be with all of our CFL brethren.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I have a work trip to Mexico City, and I'm finished. My meetings end at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. I'm hopping on a red eye so that I'm back in Ottawa at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. So I'm going to miss as little as I can. Because I had a chat. My husband said, why don't you just sleep in Mexico City on Tuesday night and get back on Wednesday? But I can't get back earlier than 9 p.m. if I do that. And I know Brian has set up from the BC Lions Den has set up like a little get together for a bunch of regular sort of Grey Cup goers, and I don't want to miss that. So I may be tired on Wednesday night, but I will see you on Wednesday night.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see you on Wednesday night. Now, tell everybody again, where can they find you online and all those types of things as we get closer to the big game?
Okay, well, you can always find me on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is @OttawaJ, that's Jay. But if you haven't already done it, you absolutely need to check out the Grey Cup Festival. So you can check them out at the website, greycupfestival105.ca, and everything, and I mean everything, is up there, including all the team parties that we know about and everything else. The Grey Cup Festival also has a Facebook page, so you go to Facebook and type in Grey Cup Festival and you'll find them there. And you can also find Grey Cup Festival on Twitter @Grey Cup Festival. So follow the festival along on social media to hear all the latest and all the greatest. And as more events get added and more information gets added, you'll find it all there. And we really can't wait to host. Our tagline for this festival is our nation welcomes our nation. So we're really, really looking forward to having all of you guys here.
Outstanding. That is fantastic. And hey, I'll see you in just under a month's time.
You bet. I can't wait.
Thank you as always, Jeannine. I absolutely love chatting with her. It's a blast, and I can't wait to see that whole gang in about a month or so.
Yeah.
If they have the Bleed Red Blacks reunion, I am so getting there.
That's excellent.
Fantastic.
I can't wait to see the pictures.
I know. It's going to be awesome. Let's go over last week's games, shall we, Superfan?
Yeah, first one lead us off. That was quite impressive. Hamilton was leading this game by quite a bit and thought, oh, this is going to ruin my whole pick'em. But Ottawa came back, winning at 41-36.
Yeah, I went the other way. I was like, hey, I'm actually going to win. No.
That's me all the time.
Nice. Well, this was a back and forth affair. That Mazzoli-Banks combo, though, is starting to just become deadly.
Well, I confess, I was broadcasting basketball at the U of A, so I didn't see any of the game at all. But yeah, I'm very surprised at how well Jeremiah Mazzoli is playing. I wasn't sure he could get himself to this level, but he's found that, again, he uses his feet well.
Yep.
And he's got a strong arm. I think we knew that, but I'm pleasantly surprised at how well he's carried that team.
That system suits him.
I was just going to say, I think when you have a coach who really develops something around that kind of style of quarterback, he can do a lot. And we've already seen what he could do when he played us last year. So,
yeah. That didn't happen either. Okay, right. The other part of that game, though, Deontay Spencer,
he had a
record for all-purpose yards and just. No TDs, but lots of yards.
Yeah, would have been good to take him in fantasy.
Oh, no kidding. No, I think he put up just over 35 points.
Yeah, that'll do.
Something ridiculous. I heard in DraftKings he actually did put up like 45 or 48 points because they count return yards too, right?
Yeah.
So, holy man, that's ridiculous. Could you imagine if he got a TD on top of that?
Yeah.
50-point player? Oy.
Mazzoli and Banks did it right for you.
Yeah, they did okay. I got 60 points out of the two of them. That was great.
That'll do.
Yep, exactly. We're going to talk about fantasy in a sec. All right, next game.
Excellent. So the next game we had, again, Montreal had one job, but nope. This time Saskatchewan takes them quite easily, 37-12.
Who do they play next week?
Who did Montreal play next week?
Yeah, who does?
They play Hamilton next week. Lots of Hamilton players in fantasy next week.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan did what they were supposed to. Richardson had his first bigger game as a rider, although he did get possibly hurt in there. And Owens had a decent game as a rider as well. So, big thing for me, the kind of announced at the beginning, the last game for Nick Lewis.
Yeah, he hasn't had the greatest year this year, but it's going to be interesting to see him go after 13, 14 years.
Legend. And
he has the record for receptions. So, was never my favorite player because he was wearing red. But, the last few years that he's been in Montreal, I've been able to appreciate more of what he was able to do. I think the game in itself loses a good player.
Absolutely.
Anytime you can have a professional player who has a body type closer to mine and still doing well, I'm like, you got to respect that a little bit. Him, John Daly,
That's pretty good. Yeah. Well, Nick, you're always welcome on the podcast. Okay. Next one, Superfan.
Yeah. All right, so the next gun, other than ours, this one was a bit of a surprise for sure. BC taking this one over Winnipeg, 36-27.
Yeah, I thought that was shocker. Now, granted, not as much when you watch the replay and you see that Nichols was out early.
Yeah.
And Dominic Davis, although is, I think, a good quarterback, hasn't had time in that system live. Right?
Well, it's tough to drop a guy in mid-game. You haven't spent the week taking first-team reps, all that. He might, assuming Nichols doesn't play this week, it might be a different story. Now they are playing an upset Calgary team, so that could change things. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just difficult for a guy to step into that kind of a situation, and then to lose your, maybe the best running back in the league.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't help your cause.
No, not a whole lot. Now, granted, they did go 7 for 7 on field goals.
There you go. See, nice positive.
So, Medlock found a way to bounce back. Wasn't that nice? Jennings threw 4 TDs.
Yeah.
So bounce back game for everyone that didn't affect us. Wonderful.
It affected us, actually. It was quite
Yes,
good.
yes.
Helped us. I mean, it didn't affect us in a negative way.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me...
I'd just like to point out, they were my actual pick.
There we go. You did not give me your picks, so I picked for you.
You did not ask me for my picks. You assumed.
It was a lot more fun that way, I guess.
I was like, oh.
I picked Montreal. What the... Yeah, no.
I always pick Montreal. Someday they'll prove me right.
I can see her watching the Harlem Globetrotters. I don't know. I think the Washingtons do.
They got a chance. They got a chance.
The law of averages says.
Exactly. Now,
I was never good at math. Gosh.
Interesting question, actually. Just as you brought that up, Superfan, with you don't know who's actually going in on the Winnipeg side going into this game against Calgary. But you've got Calgary, who knows that they've got first locked up.
Yep.
But now they're on a 2-game losing skid. So
and they're going to have a break, too.
So, exactly. So does Calgary play this game harder to win and not rest as many guys on the fact that they're going to have the week of rest and they don't want to go into the playoffs on a 3-game losing streak? Or do they take the rest that the guys need after the whole season? This is a tough balance.
I don't know. I think it's going to be almost like that last preseason game where the starters get in for maybe half a game and that's it. If they lose
like
the
that
game,
Hamilton game?
Yeah. If they lose the game at that kind of scenario, they say, well, we didn't play most of our players and who cares? It's just, et cetera, et cetera. So
I think Calgary has a ego, like a lot of teams, but especially...
Bo has an ego?
No.
Hush now. No, I think they're going to come into this as a kind of a need to win. Just a point to make a point in their own team that they can't go into the playoffs with a losing streak of 3.
I think the plan was to play Buckley a bit on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because, I sit on the Calgary sideline, and there was more than one occasion that he was warming up as though he was going in. He grabbed one of the hand warmers, put that on, and they just kept putting Mitchell back out.
Yeah.
So something triggered Dave Dickinson to just leave his guys alone. I was surprised. I thought what they would do no matter what is sit Mitchell for part of last Saturday and then do the same next week. And then you've kind of balanced it off and you're good. But now that you've run them out there, you lost, like Kayla said.
Yeah.
To me, you've created a bit of a situation that it's even trickier for you now heading into week 20. So I'm
okay with that.
Oh, I am too. I think they're thinking about stuff that they don't need to be thinking about right now. So it was odd.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into our pick'em now that we're talking about all these games anyway. Our leaders this week actually are exactly the same as last week. C. Vincent is in first, Hugo Agogo, TXA 2002, Teely, and Titus. I'm going to do it a bit out of order because we were just talking about it. Let's talk about the Winnipeg at Calgary game. So who do you got? Who are you going to pick in that game, Mike?
It's going to be so tough with Nichols not in. Harris was banged up. Who knows what percentage health he's going to be in this game. I don't know. It's a must-win for Winnipeg if they want that home playoff game, which they definitely do. It's been years. And Calgary doesn't want to, like Kayla said, lose 3 in a row. So I think Calgary, certainly maybe less of the stars, more of those the linemen are going to really want to impose their will. There's a bunch of linemen hurt for Winnipeg, so I think I'm going to take Calgary in this one.
All right. Doug, who do you got in this one?
I think the quarterback factor with Nichols out, I think points it in Calgary's favor. The game matters more to the Bombers. There's no question. I mean, like you were saying, Mike, I don't know the last time they hosted a Western playoff game at home.
2011.
Is that when it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this game matters a lot to the Bombers, but I just worry about having your starting quarterback out this late in the season, and maybe again, do they push Harris if he's 60%?
Right.
Do you play him?
They'll play him, I think. But again, like that preseason mentality.
That's right.
You're going to get, a quarter and a half, and that's all you get, just to stay loose.
Yeah. Oh, my. All right. Kayla?
Calgary at home, they're not going to lose again at home. They're just not. It's unfathomable almost that they lost.
Yeah, not for a couple of weeks.
I'm talking presently, not future. Calm down, gentlemen. They're not going to lose at home again. Like I said, 3 games in a row. They're not going to make it another home game. It's going to be Calgary.
Calgary does us a favor.
All right. I'm going to...
go Calgary.
Yeah. No. I'm saying Winnipeg will lose this game.
There you go.
That's right. That's how we want to word that properly. All right. Our next game is Montreal versus Hamilton. This one takes place in the Hammer. Doug, who do you have in this one?
Hamilton, because does Kavis Reed draw the name out of a hat as far as who's playing quarterback for him.
It might be you.
It might be me. I mean, I haven't played for my flag season ended about 6 weeks ago, so I haven't thrown for a bit.
But you've had time to recover.
I've had time to recover.
So that's good.
Yeah, Hamilton could put you in. You'd have success.
Yeah. It's got to be Hamilton. I mean, they're playing so well right now. I mean, they need another couple weeks, and they might have been able to make an actual serious push at a playoff spot. But it's got to be Hamilton.
All right, Kayla?
I feel like if I choose Hamilton, Montreal's going to win.
Because you've chosen Montreal.
And so you're picking?
I have no horse in this race. I have no fantasy anyway. I'm just going Montreal.
Oh, nice.
Not that I believe it, but
we all have
whatever.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm going to go with Hamilton just because it's against Montreal.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about Masoli and Banks. June Jones has turned his team right around. Unfortunately, Cavis has turned Montreal around as well when he got rid of...
The wrong way?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I can't pick Montreal.
All right. Okay, everyone else.
I can, Mike. Don't worry.
Excellent.
I got you.
See, we got their back. Cavis is like, thanks, Kayla.
Exactly.
You're welcome, friend.
Now, our next one is Toronto at BC. This is in BC Place. Kayla, you get to pick first. Who do you have in this one?
That's tough. That's a
tough one.
My gut's telling me BC, so I don't have any other reason than my gut's telling me BC.
All right, wonderful. That's an okay reason to go with that.
Just okay. God.
Well, jeez. All right. Holy critic. I am going to pick Toronto in this game. I think Toronto wants that home playoff Eastern final, and James Wilder Jr. versus the BC Lions.
Yeah.
I am going to pick James Wilder Jr. probably 99 out of 100 times that time. So I am going to go with Toronto in this game.
Yeah, BC doesn't have anything to play for. They're not making the playoffs at all, and Toronto can get first place locked up.
Yes.
Even though it's in BC and it's tough going 3 time zones away.
Yes.
I think, like you said, James Wilder Jr. is the huge difference maker, and you can't really fault Ricky Ray. So
yeah,
I'm going to go with Toronto.
He's not bad.
He's all right.
Yeah. All right.
Give him a few more years.
Yeah, that's right. I'll go Toronto too. Although the wild card to me a little bit is Jennings, after having played pretty well last week. I think he's a better quarterback than he's shown throughout the majority of the season. Whether he can get back to where everyone thought he might get to is another story. So that's the one wild card for me, but I'm not sure it's enough to... I mean, Toronto wants this. They want a home game at BMO. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure from management heading in.
All 7 fans are going to love it.
That's right. This could be a huge... I mean, I'm not saying this is the turning point for the franchise, but I think having a home playoff date at BMO... Is that something that can be maybe a bit of a catalyst to, again, this is a long road for them, but is this a step in the right direction if they can actually get a home playoff date?
Sure hope so.
Well, however, I was listening to the locker room speeches for the BC Lions, and they're treating these last games as their playoffs. Yep. Yeah. So they're coming in, not going down without a fight. So that's...
I don't expect them to go down easily. I mean, this is still a Wally Buono team. They're not going to roll over for him.
This could be Wally's last game.
Could be.
Again?
You know, so, I mean, and Wilder versus Solly, that could be an interesting battle.
That'll be an interesting battle. Absolutely. Well, and I just think that Toronto D-line, though, again, is leaps and bounds better than the Winnipeg one at this particular moment. Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays.
Someone PVR it for me.
Yeah.
What are you doing that game?
Well, the Esks have a game this week, too. They finish up their regular season, making their first trip to New Mosaic to face the Riders, and now what becomes a very key matchup. The game is at 5 bells. Kayla, you will actually be at New Mosaic Stadium.
I will.
I am looking forward to lots of pictures and stories, and hopefully catching up with the Piffles Pod crew.
Yes.
I talked to them earlier. They had me on the show as well, so thanks people. Gang. What do I call them?
Group.
Yeah, thanks, gang.
Groupies? Is the groupies now you guys have?
No.
Sorry, just checking. Just check.
Yeah, you left the pod too early, man.
Apparently, no kidding. You got groupies now. You had gin sponsors. This is a good deal.
Fantastic. I wish we had that. Yeah, so I'm excited to get your point of view from being there. I think it'll be I think it's going to be pretty amazing atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Especially those 2-foot hot dog things I hear so much. Yeah.
That'll be an interesting picture. Okay, let's leave that one alone. Yeah.
Had UBC not beaten Regina at home last weekend, Regina would have hosted the playoff game Friday night, so I would have been there too. But not I would have had to go to Calgary the next day. But I would have actually been able to see New Mosaic. So
It looks gorgeous.
Oh, well, close enough.
Yeah, that's okay. Good for you to go where you're going. All right, so let's start with you, Doug. Keys to the game for the Eskimos in this one.
Well, I think it goes back a little bit to what we talked about earlier, and that's the secondary. And I think that's going to be a story for a while, especially against what is a pretty talented receiving core. So I think that's, as the defense goes, I think this team is going to go. Our offense, we've all noticed this all season. We know this offense has the ability to put up big numbers. They've been maybe the quintessential consistently inconsistent.
Sure. Yes.
But I do think if the secondary can be decent, I think this team's got a shot to win in Regina on Saturday. But to me, if the secondary, I'm worried about the injuries that we've talked about,
Sure.
and I haven't liked it all year, so that's the part that worries me a little bit.
I can understand that for sure. Kayla?
Yep, I absolutely agree with that 100%. Also, the thing that worries me, obviously, as we all know, Chris Jones' defense. You don't know what the guy's thinking. You don't know what he's planning. He is very, very talented in his coaching ways. So I would obviously say the secondary, but since you said that, I'm going to say our O-line has to protect Mike Riley, and that receiving core has to get open all the time. Like you need to get into the red zone and make those plays count. And with Chris Jones' defense, that's one of my biggest concerns. Is his defense is going to be a very, very hard thing to break. So
yeah, absolutely, it has been most of the year for sure, and they've been playing well the last few weeks. So super fan.
A couple of things. I think one of the keys to the game is not even going to be at the game itself, but the game before it. With Calgary-Winnipeg, Calgary wins this game, Winnipeg loses. That's going to have maybe a bit of an effect on who's playing for how long. It's just the same reverse if Winnipeg ends up winning and we're either third or fourth. So that's going to be, I think, kind of interesting. If Winnipeg does lose, we can only be second or fourth. We can't be third. So
yeah,
it could be interesting. I'm hoping that Mike Riley can get rid of that ball a little sooner than he has been. And definitely you can't lock into a receiver, not with guys like Ed Gainey back there.
No.
He will eat you for lunch, and he's been having a great, especially the second half of the season, is just deadly. And you never know, Deron Carter might be back there as well. And he's just looking to get all kinds of tape. He's getting NFL interest as a DB. So,
yeah. Crazy.
He's a great athlete, right? So I think that's something I'd like to see them really work on, is just maybe fake someone out, lock it into somebody, and then throw it to somebody else. Who knows?
Tricky.
Yeah,
tricky,
but important. I see what you mean. I honestly think one of the big keys to this game is CJ Gable.
Sure.
We didn't have him when we played the Riders last time.
Right.
We know that he's huge in the blocking. We know that helps as far as our O-line is concerned. And we know that Saskatchewan tends to have that three-man rush a lot of the time, and that's a spot where CJ Gable could be ripping up the middle. And I'm hoping that we see a lot of CJ Gable in this game. Partly time management, but also just for him to blast through and gain those yards.
Willie J.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They need that balance in this game.
And that's right. I think this is where Riley using his feet, as I talked about earlier, is so crucial. And again, I'm not saying he has to run 15 times.
No.
But even 2-3 called runs, for him, I think can make a big difference.
Or an option play.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Well, like they ran the one option, or the option where he kept it. So I think there's some ways that they can get him out of the pocket and use his feet, just to, again, cause a bit of chaos on the side of, get Chris Jones thinking a little bit too.
Yeah, you need to get creative when it comes to Chris Jones.
For
like
sure.
we were saying, you can't play basic anymore. You got to get creative.
Absolutely. All right, which players are we watching? Kayla, I'll start with you this time. Which player are you watching?
I'm going to watch our D-line again.
Okay.
Specifically, shocking, Cummings.
Is that because you like him? Yeah.
I don't like him.
He's
what
a nice
are you
dude.
talking about?
He's a nice dude. What are you talking about? He's a nice dude.
I think he's been one of the most underrated players this whole season. I'm looking for Brandon Bridge to be on his back a little bit more.
All right. I like that. I already said mine because I basically told you about the key to the game. I'm watching CJ Gable. Yeah. Okay. Super fan.
I'm going to be watching our defensive ends, specifically. I'm looking at Kwaku Boateng. He has caused a lot of disruption in that backfield. Kevin Glenn is certainly a more stationary quarterback.
Yes.
And sets up a nice, juicy target for them to focus in on. And he's had so many near sacks this season. He's had 4 actual sacks. I see him having at least 3 or 4 pressures and maybe a sack this game.
Well, and John Chick had the week off last week, so last time he showed
And
that
playing against
actually
Chris Jones.
had him play very well.
Is he returning?
Yes, he's supposed to be. He was just he was a healthy scratch.
Oh,
Got
okay.
rest last week. So, Doug.
I'll go a little bit off the board here. I'm going to say, assuming the lineup remains the same, I'm going to say Vidal Hazelton. We've talked a lot about Chris Jones and his ability to match against offenses and take guys out. Now, we have a very deep receiving core.
We do.
Yes.
And can you take Bowman, Walker, Zylstra away? Probably not. But having another weapon, former Eastern Rookie of the Year, I think he's a guy that we've seen flashes of him this year. He got hurt, so that slowed him down a bit. But we've seen flashes. I think he's a guy that could have a big impact on this game. Because he's going to get single coverage a lot. He's going to get ignored a little bit. So I wonder if he's a guy that can...
He's got great speed.
He's got great speed, pretty good hands. So I wonder if he's a guy that can have a big impact on this game. And we really see the depth of that receiving core take a game over.
That'd be awesome.
I like that call. That's a great one. All right, now I'll let you abstain from your picks as per usual, but
as is
our
tradition.
Pick for Edmonton versus Saskatchewan, Superfan. Who you got?
Oh, this is a tough one because it's in Saskatchewan, but again, it's going to depend on what happens in that Calgary-Winnipeg game. You know what? We've been playing so streaky this year. We've had a bunch of wins, a bunch of losses. Let's go for more wins, and we'll take this one.
All right, Kayla?
Edmonton. I'm going to be there making the noise. Don't worry, guys. I'll do it myself if I have to.
You got our back. Perfect. All right. I'm picking the Eskimos in this one too. I think it's going to be a squeaker.
Yep.
I think it'll be a very
tough.
close game because that defense is playing very well in Saskatchewan.
Yep.
And I think that the Eskimos are finding ways though right now. They're finding ways to put up points when they need to, and the defense is finding ways to get that all important 2 and out when they need it. So
And if Sean White is back.
there is a possibility. So
He's finished his 12 games, so...
we'll see. Yeah, guess we won't find out Wednesday. We'll have to find out Thursday. Okay. So, all right, Mike, let's talk fantasy.
Well, I never thought these stories were real, but then this...
No, like CFL.
Oh, right.
Okay, that's good of you to set that up. I appreciate that. I had not a bad week last week, but I'm still sliding a bit at this moment because I made the horrible decision to play Deron Carter over Chad Owens. Bad choice. Anyway, in the league right now, the leader is N. Hodge, City of Champs into second, and Empire Andrew. And actually, we're exactly tied, but they have me in third, I think, because I'm the commissioner. So join us in the Eskimo Empire Pod League. This is the last week of fantasy. And then, of course, the Canadian Football Pod Network against all of your favorite podcasters. Well, we've reached the end once again. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this. I thought it was a really fun chat.
Yeah.
Doug, we always love when you come on the show and your insight and everything. Tell everyone again where they can find you online. And of course, again, the call for the game this coming Saturday.
Yeah, thanks for that. And thanks for having me. It's always fun to be here. At Doug McLean 15, so DougMclean 15. I'm not this guy on Sportsnet, right? Although I have actually been mistaken for him, and he's tweeted me just saying, "Hey, maybe you should take my job." Anyway, whole other thing. But and then the game will for sure be on CanadaWest.tv, and I'll see if I can find out a little bit more about where it may actually be. I think TELUS was showing it, so I'll see if I can find out where that is. But it's a huge day for the Golden Bears, and we'll see if they can. This will be a monumental upset if they can knock off Calgary at McMahon. But
every team has a stake.
But you never know.
That's right.
They're hot.
Take them where we get them. Kayla, where does everybody find you?
At Duchess Lombardi on Twitter and Instagram on our Instagram account, Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Perfect. Superfan.
Find me at 56 Parkies on Twitter and the history at Esks History.
Wonderful. And you can find me at Freepalicious and, of course, at Esk Empire Pod. As I said off the top, make sure you find us on all of our social channels, in which you can find all of the links on our website, eskempire.ca. Our Patreon link is there as well. And thank you, as always, to all of our Hall of Famers, Joe, Jedi, Brazilian Tie, Bill, Hippie, and Turf Toe. The show is going to be away next week as life gets in the way of podcasting, but we will return the week after with an alumni guest.
Ooh, exciting.
So here's hoping. We are talking about how our home game West semifinal win was awesome.
Yes, please.
That is the plan. So are we ready to grab a hold of our playoff destiny?
Absolutely.
Will the offense continue to put points up against the Saskatchewan defense?
Absolutely.
And are we ready to get win number 5 in a row and get that home playoff game?
Absolutely.
For Doug, Webmistress Kayla, and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.